everybody, welcome to my channel. My name is Sharon and this is a channel that is dedicated to all things related to narcissism. I've been married to a covert narcissist for almost 20 years. I'm separated from him now, and what I do with this channel is I use my real life experiences to get information out there to people about what narcissism really is, what it looks like, what it does to you, and what it does to your family. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about what happens to you when you've been abused by a narcissist, specifically what happens to you after you leave the relationship, when you out of the relationship, the PTSD symptoms that come on full force. Some of what I'm going to talk about happen in the relationship, but primarily I'm going to be speaking about things after the relationship has ended. Whether you've been discarded or whether you have the courage to end the relationship, either way, you're going to feel the effects of what happened to you in the relationship. When you're in any relationship with an abusive person, that is going to affect your stress levels dramatically. You're always under stress. There's always stress hormones running through your body, even during the so-called good times, because even during the good times, you're with a mentally unstable person and you never know when the other shoe's going to drop. You never know when you might say the wrong thing, when something might happen out of your control and it's taken out on you. You're always under stress. It's a constant fight or flight. You're not making decisions. You're just reacting. The area of the brain responsible for decision making and learning is the hippocampus. That is damaged when you're in a relationship with an abusive person. It affects the way that you make decisions. You're not making the best decisions. This is why it's very frustrating for people that are outside of the relationship, seeing you in an abusive relationship, and they think to themselves, or they'll just tell you, why don't you leave? I would never stay with somebody like that. If it's that bad, you should just leave the relationship. People stay because their hippocampus has been damaged. Once you're out of the relationship, your hippocampus is going to start springing to life. There is going to be a recovery. It's going to happen. It hurts to get there, though. It's not as easy as just leaving the relationship and now it's all good. It's all smooth sailing. There is a recovery process. Being aware of it will shorten it because you'll know what to expect. You'll be able to get through these symptoms and you'll be able to come out on the other side and live a better life. I understand that this is frustrating. Every single thing that I'm going to be talking about are things that I do experience still, because as I make these videos, I am not on the other side. So I want to get to the other side with you. Together, we can do this. I really do have hope. We're not in the relationship anymore. That's such a blessing. If you can look at it as a blessing, think about people that are still in the relationship. You can get to the other side. I can get to the other side. So I'm going to talk about some of these symptoms of PTSD that linger on after the relationship is over. The first one I'm going to talk about is fear. This, I think, is the worst one. When you feel intense panic, intense fear, like you cannot survive it, that is, I really think, the worst symptom of PTSD. It doesn't happen all the time, but when it does, when you have a full-blown panic attack, you become absolutely paralyzed with fear. You can't breathe. This has been happening to me for a week. It's better now. I went through a period of about 24 hours where I was literally incapacitated. I could barely move. I was laying prone on my bed. I felt like an elephant was sitting on my chest. Felt like something terrible was going to happen, and I could do nothing to stop it. I was completely vulnerable. Like I was just laying there and somebody was going to come and destroy my world. Didn't feel like I could fight. Like I was just completely out of control. I had no control in my life. It is horrible. You have cortisol running through your body and you can't get rid of it easily. Once it's there, once the panic attack has hit, you have to wait it out. It doesn't go away easily. It takes at a minimum of a few hours. For me, this has been going on since last Tuesday. All right, so I'm making this video right now. It's Monday morning and I still can feel it. It's not as bad. I'm functional, but It's still there. Something happened that I feel like I have no control over, and I'm waiting for this thing to pass. I do feel better, but this is what happens. You have no control in your life. That's how you feel anyways. You feel like you can't fight it. That is a classic symptom of PTSD. When it happens, you have to be aware that it's going to pass. It is going to get better. You will be okay. Nothing is going to happen that's going to be so drastic that you cannot handle it. Even if something bad does happen, you have to know that you can handle it. You've already gotten through the narcissistic abuse. This is a symptom that you are springing to life. Your body is going haywire, but you're going to get to a stable point. You're not always going to feel this way. So fear is one of the worst things. Regret. This is another, they're all painful, so I shouldn't keep saying each one's painful. They're all difficult, or I wouldn't have put them in here. Regret is another one. You regret the time you spent with this person. You regret the things you did for them. You regret everything. You regret years of your life sometimes. I look back and I can't believe I was with him for 20 years. People have commented that to me several times. Wow, you were with him for 20 years. I can't believe you were with somebody for 20 years. Neither can I. I was in a complete brain fog. I really believed he was somebody else. But when I sit here today in recovery mode, I can clearly see what I should have done, things I shouldn't have put up with. Essentially, and I'm not blaming myself. I don't think it's a good idea to blame yourself because you didn't know. But at the same time, I can see that I taught him how to treat me. I taught him what was acceptable. I forgave him everything. I thought that made me a good wife. What that really did was make me an ideal abuse victim. You need to learn to stand up for yourself. You need to learn to know what is acceptable. How should somebody treat you? What is the way that is acceptable for somebody to treat you? And when they don't treat you that way, act on it immediately. So regret, it's difficult. I sit here today, I'm in my 40s, and I think of all the time that I lost. I'm in a situation where everybody that I know is married. I'm not in my 20s anymore where, a lot of people are single. Everyone I know is married. So it's just me. And that brings you and me into loneliness. That's another thing. You're lonely. You don't have somebody. You don't have a companion. And you've had somebody for 20 years or 30 years, or 15 years, whatever it is. You've had this person. You're used to that. You thought you were living a life. It was never real, but you didn't know it at the time. So you have this loneliness. You want another relationship. But at the same time, you recognize that if you get into another relationship before you're ready and you end up with another narcissist, that would be the worst thing that could happen. It's completely unacceptable. You have to get through the recovery. You have to feel this. I mean, think about it as somebody who's going through withdrawal, right? Somebody who's a drug addict or an alcoholic, they have to go through that horrible withdrawal stage. There's nothing that's going to make it better. I mean, I guess maybe there are some medications you can take that will lessen the symptoms, but you're going to feel it. You're going to feel it in some way. That's like us. We're going through a process. We're going through the recovery from abuse. So this is like our withdrawal period. It's ugly. It's the uncomfortable stage, but there's a better future on the other side. There is nobody who has recovered from drug or alcohol abuse who says they regret it, or somebody who's recovered from narcissistic abuse who says they regret it. The hope is what we need to hang on to under all circumstances. We've already been through so much. And the other thing, just a reality, is we don't have a choice. What's our choice? You're going to go back to the narcissist and live this miserable life? That's like somebody who's an alcoholic, right? You're an alcoholic. You got through 3 weeks without drinking, and now you're going to go back to it and you're just going to have to start all over. So we don't have a choice also is a reality. But feeling loneliness is painful. It's difficult. You want to be with somebody, and you want to be with somebody now because you're used to it. But at the same time, you have to recognize you can't be with somebody now. You're not ready to be with somebody now. It has to be a good relationship, or you should not be in the relationship. Another symptom of PTSD is procrastination. And this is because you're not sure of yourself. You don't have that confidence in yourself, and your brain still isn't working at the full capabilities. So this happens to me. I'll have a ton of things I want to do. I'll have a to-do list, and I just find myself procrastinating until the last second, or feeling like I can't do things, or not starting things that I know I should do. It's a real problem, and I get mad at myself for doing it, but it is a symptom of PTSD because you're not 100% in the present moment. You're dealing with all these other things, all these other symptoms. So sometimes your list of things that you need to do just keeps getting pushed off and pushed off and pushed off. I find myself sometimes not doing things until the very last second. So that is another sign of PTSD. Shock is another difficult one. Shock that this happened to you. Shock that this was your life. How could this have happened? Because when you're out of the relationship, you're beginning to see things more clearly. You're seeing how your life really was. All the things that you lost, all the things that you can't give up. I mean, not that you can't give up, that you can't get back. I cannot believe it. Even now, and I've been out of the relationship for over a year, I cannot believe that my husband turned out to be the person that he is. I can't believe it. I look back to how he used to be. Now, of course, I recognize realistically that it was all an act, but I believed it. That's the important thing to understand. I believed he was a good person. I believed he was a successful person. Today, he's a homeless man. He can barely carry a conversation with me. I can't believe it. Utter shock and disbelief. It is a real problem. I feel like my brain just going in circles. How could this possibly be true? I feel like I'm going to wake up from this nightmare at some point. But then, of course, I recognize that, no, it's real. This really is happening. If you have children, you're going to feel guilt. You're going to feel intense guilt, crippling guilt. How could I have brought my kids into this environment? How could I have let them stay in this environment for so long? How could I have chosen to be with this person? And of course, at the same time, you think to yourself, well, if I wasn't with this person, I wouldn't have my kids. I mean, it is a bitter, vicious cycle. PTSD is no joke. Somebody who has kids with a narcissist really is going to feel guilt once they recognize who the narcissist is. And then, of course, if you're in a situation, thankfully, this is not my situation, but I know people who are in this situation, they have to have their children spend time with a narcissist without them. You have to turn your children over to somebody that you know is mentally ill. It destroys people. It hurts your soul. Having a child with a narcissist is very difficult to come to terms with. You really feel bad that you did this to your child. Even though you didn't, you feel responsible. When you are with somebody who's mentally ill, you are the sane parent. You're the ones who has to make the decisions for the child. And if a court is in a situation where they're taking that away from you and you have no choice but to turn your innocent child over to an abusive person, that's going to affect you drastically. All these things are real. There are things that happen to everybody to varying degrees when you come out of a narcissistic relationship. I really want to remind you, this means that your brain is starting to come to life. This means that you're healing. It hurts to heal. It's unfortunate that it's that way, but it is the truth. If we keep pushing through, eventually it's going to get better. Discovering who you were, who you became, and who you will become is the process that you're going through. It's painful, it's difficult, but it is recoverable. You will recover. Now, there's different things you can do. You can go to therapy. Absolutely. That is a good option for a lot of people. There's a lot of good self-help books out there. Talk to your friends, talk to your pastor, your priest, your rabbi. Make friends. That is an essential ingredient to your recovery. Learn to have new friends, good friends. In the last year, I've made lots of friends, and it's made such a difference in my life, because when you are in a relationship with a narcissist, they take that ability away from you. You don't have friends. You don't have that type of thing. The narcissist wants you all to themselves. They don't want you to have a life. Remember, they're an abusive person. Their abuse is deliberate. Abusive people all do the same things. Also, in that vein, people who are abused do the same things. So we know if we follow along with the people who have gotten out of abusive relationships before us, we also will be able to recover. There is a new life for us, a new hope for us. Keep pushing forward. Think about what will be best for you. Don't be ashamed or embarrassed to go to therapy, to talk to other people. When I was in my relationship with my husband, I really thought other people were bad. I didn't want to be around other people. I thought that people were only going to hurt me. This was partly because my husband was always telling me that people didn't like me, so I really wanted to just stay away. It's not true. I've found the exact opposite to be the situation. If you are a religious person, lean on God, go to church, join a small group, be with other like-minded people. It will change your world. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope it has helped. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up. Please consider subscribing to the channel. I make videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on all things related to narcissism. But before I go, just most importantly, I want you to understand you are not alone. Thank you so much. God bless you.